everyone, welcome to another Random Talk Sunday. I apologize this video is being uploaded late. I wanted to do all of the videos Sunday, but I didn't have enough time to do them, so I will be doing them all today and we'll be caught up for Monday's video today, so you should all be getting all of your videos up and running. So, without further ado, let me address what I wanted to address for this Random Talk Sunday, and that is technological advancements. In particular, I'm talking ones that haven't come to fruition, but I have a feeling could come to fruition within the future, and sort of how we would deal with that. Because it's sort of a big problem, because as society gets more advanced, the more easier our labor is going to become, and there ends up being, I think, a lot of economic factors that end up occurring as a result of all of this technology happening. And I think there is also a dependency that comes with technological advancements, that we rely so much on computers to do work, that we rely so much on phones to communicate, that we rely on all these different things in order to eventually sort of make our lives easier. But at the same time, as we get more advanced, it worries me because not only does our dependency grow significantly, because first you had the car, and the car could take you where you wanted it to, until we got faster cars where it could take you even further than before. But now Google is planning to introduce these, and they're really technically already on the road, these driverless cars. And some people are saying, well, this will reduce accidents and whatnot, and there'll be less human error. And on the one hand, I think that would be a good thing if we could prevent accidents. But then on the one hand, it's like, I mean, at least with the car, we were in control and we were driving. We had some kind of capability that we were utilizing with the technology. But if the technology starts to kind of operate on its own and, doesn't really need us, then I think that kind of becomes a little bit discouraging, at least on my part. And again, we also need to worry about hacking, because the cars have the potential, and they have to figure out a way. I think the only way they're going to prevent hacking from happening is if they don't connect to the internet. That's probably the only way that it's going to prevent any kind of control that gets taken over. So really, I think the huge problem that I see with a lot of technology advances is I just see that sometimes they can just go to the over necessity level, where I feel like this isn't really something that we could really use. It's just making it so that we don't have to do it, like cleaning. It used to be a human activity where we would do the work and we would put in the effort into doing it. But if we just have a robot do it for us, what if all of a sudden that robot breaks down and we have no idea how to do it because we weren't taught before, because the robot would do it for us? And that's where I see things becoming that's where I see within the future things becoming a little bit more complicated, because the more of a dependency you have on it, and the more reliance that we put and faith that we put into technology, um, there is the possibility that it could all crash at some point, and that it could not operate the way we want it to. And if we lose it, then where do we pick up the pieces? So I think that's really a part of me that is kind of discouraged by this kind of direction that we're going in as far as, technology. It just feels like as more and more we give faith into machinery to do things, then the more reliant we are, and the more, you know, and at the same time, the more incapable we are of doing things on our own. Um, that's just something that really just discourages me, and why I don't really, I, that's why I identify with the 20th century so much and not so much the 21st century. Like, I don't really care about like all these iPhones and, all these computers and yeah, YouTube and, social media and all that stuff. That's all really cool and amazing, and it's really allowed us to communicate in a totally different way. But at the same time, I feel like there is a growing reliance that we have, as far as how we use technology to communicate and to um, push things forward. And I'm not against technology, and I'm not against technological advancement, but I think there is a problem when we push it too far in certain areas where really it's, for the most part, it's really not needed. I mean, people have survived before the computers, people lived, they just stored information differently, I mean, so I think there is just this, I think there is this fascination that we have with it, and what it's capable of doing, and I think it's great that it's able to make our lives easier, but on the one hand, I feel like it's also a detriment because because of our reliance, and because we put so much time and so much energy and so much faith in technology, when there is just these things that we as humans have that is just so, it's just not the same in the same way. It's just we offer something completely, I guess you could say, different than technology. And I think it's crazy what technology is going to be able to do, and what that's going to do with being able to, or what it's going to even do to the economy as far as jobs, and what it's really ultimately all amounting to. Because I mean, at the end, I think the future it's unpredictable. But on the one hand, I think that the whole reliance that we already have on it, the whole necessity for it, I think is sometimes can get pushed a little too far. And I almost feel like too that sometimes, it could be, we could be utilizing to make things, because I mean, really, we are in a very, I think already I live in a very spoiled society. I mean, I heard even with the technology that we have, I feel like I wouldn't need any more. I would feel fine driving myself. I've never gotten into an accident ever. The only time that I ever hit anything was a pole on my car in the back. That's it. I've never gotten into an accident. At least to the point when I'm making this video, I never got into an accident ever with my car. So, I mean, I think as a human, I'm fully capable of driving a car. It's just with the way things are going, I think we're just gonna my fear is just we're just going to become way, way, way more reliant on things to work with technology. When a lot of it, isn't designed to be safe. I mean, already with all of the, all of the information being stolen and, people spying and things like that, I mean, technology's never really necessarily always safe, hunky-dory, and secure and private. So I think there is just going to be a point where, I feel like that there is, the more we advance things, I mean, I think just the more we enable our laziness, and, our inability to do things just on our own. And, I think it's, and again, I think too, with just how advanced technology can become, who knows? They'll probably start implanting things into our brains and, make us super smart, or, just whatever crazy stuff they come up with. I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like the technology of the 20th century is something that I would rather live with than really anything that they're going to come up with in the 21st century, because I feel like a lot of it is just unnecessary. It's not like you're going to die without your cell phone. I mean, there's always a phone. There's always a landline. You're not gonna go berserk if or you're not gonna end up in the hospital just because YouTube shuts down. You're not going to be in some kind of, it's just not technology that's really all too, again, I think it's all excess, really, and it's not really designed to do things that would really better us, but just replace things and just have computers do it now. So yeah, I think that's just really my thoughts. I mean, I personally think that, we shouldn't try to create more to rely on, but rather create things that'll make our lives easier. And although, yes, computers and all of that has made our lives a lot easier, I still think that as far as anything, as far as the majority of things that have come out within the 21st century, I feel like it's largely just kind of it's just kind of made things more efficient, but at the same time, there is always been other things within the past that have allowed us to utilize knowledge. Like, what did you do before the internet? Well, I looked it up in a book, So I think, there are good and bad things that can come from the direction things are going as far as technology, but my main concern is that we don't become the people in WALL-E. Like, that's my only big concern is that we become so reliant that we can't even get our legs up. We'll have nothing to stand on, so to speak, because everything will be taught for us, and we'll just drive around and, we'll create these super geniuses will create all these crazy things and make whatever crazy amount of money on it. But at the end of the day, once you create that, what's more to create? Probably not a whole much. A lot, especially when you're making things so that it can utilize people to be even more lazy. So I think that there's just a problem with just having us be too reliant, and just kind of come back to I just think we need to kind of reason our things out. And I think a lot of it is very commercialized, our technology, and I think it's a lot of it is not really all too useful. I remember the days, where you wouldn't even have, you couldn't even stream movies from your laptop. You would go to a movie store, and it was always cool to go to a movie store and find that one particular title you were looking for. There's just such a simplicity to things that I think existed at least within the 20th century. Um, that you know, things were not maybe as convenient, but at the same time, it wasn't like you were living in the 1800s and you were plowing a you were using a donkey or a horse to plow, or so I think really the biggest contributions that were made as far as technology is concerned, the biggest contribution obviously in the 21st century is the internet and computers, but the 20th century I just felt offered really the biggest advances, and really the advances that I think ultimately made our lives actually significantly easier. Whereas now I think it's just toppling on top of a convenience, and so that's really my main concern is that we use technology to not necessarily accomplish things, but it just makes it so easier for us that we won't even need to utilize our faculties anymore, because the computers and the technology will do everything for us. That's my deepest concern, is that it takes away our abilities, and it takes away our ideas and our capabilities, because yeah, computers, they don't get tired, and they don't you know they don't require vacations, and they don't need certain things that humans do need. So I could probably see a world where, and this is probably God knows when, but I could see a world where a lot of things are going to just be replaced by technology. And yeah, it says a lot. It's probably gonna affect a lot of people, but who knows? Nobody can really know the future, and nobody can really know when all of this technology is going to be implemented. But as far as what I can tell, I would just rather live simply and conveniently. And I think the 20th century technologies really made things convenient enough to the point where I didn't feel like technology was such a huge necessity, but an essential, important part of our growth as a civilization. Now I just feel like a lot of the technology is very excess, and a lot of it is based on consumerism and all that. So yeah, I think that's really what it all boils down to as far as my opinion on this topic. But I'd love to hear what anybody else has to say about this, because I think it does say a lot about where we're heading towards the future. And we got to ask ourselves, do we really want to live that? Do we really want to advance to the point where certain things aren't necessary anymore to be done by humans? Or do we really want to um, give things up to robots? Do we really want to, do we really want to have this kind of a world? So I think that's really what we need to ask ourselves, and really as specific, because it all depends on the specific technology that you're talking about too. So, I mean, but yeah, I think that's really ultimately all I can say about this particular topic. But again, if there are any questions, comments, concerns, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a pleasant day, week, month, and year, and I hope to see you on the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.